Okay, this is mapping a canopy by request. Jack's having a problem with it with mapping canopies. He wants to do it all in just two halves. Hopefully this will work. So the main idea is that I keep my vertical edges running nice and vertical. The ones that run this way are up and down are nice and straight and true, and I let all the definition come from the left to right running edge loops. So you can see how the construction of that is. That'll give us a nice baseline when we go to map. So right now this has mapping on it. So I'm going to go down to mapping clear, and I'll collapse that down. And now I can go to UV mapping. Unwrap UVW, and I'll open the editor up. I didn't want to do that. So I'll share the screen here. Okay, so this has an interior and an exterior. So it's two layered, so I'll keep the ignore back facing on and turn this one direction if I can get anything to work. There we go. And let's see what happens. Let's make sure we're in face mode. So yeah, so basically I'm getting stuff I don't want. Let's see if I can get rid of that real nice. Okay, there's some edge pieces in here that are selected. I have to get rid of those. Yep, there's just two more down here. That's good. Let's look at the nose, make sure the nose is done real good. Yep, right down to the point. Yes, okay. Alright. Now the planar map here is twisted, and it's getting a view of the whole, trying to get a view around this curve. So what I'm going to do is align that plane to the X. Now you can see it lines right up on the X. And now I can move this over a little bit. Drag this out. And I'm going to uncheck Normalized Map. Normalized Map makes everything every part that you quick planar map fit within the one-to-one. This will just let it be full size, stretched out. So alright, so with that done, I'm going to go back up and just do a quick planar on it. And it's really huge, so I'm going to go over to checker pattern just to get, oh yeah, that's real big. And that's a good test too, is to make it really giant, and then you can really see what's going on. So there's some stretching that's going on across the top here and on the bottom, as you would expect, but otherwise it's not too terribly bad. So there's a couple different things you can do. The first one would be to go to Tools and Relax, switch this to Face Angles, and do a Start Relax. You can see that twisted it all up, so that didn't really work. So I'm going to back that out. The other thing to do is yeah. I thought I had the other thing installed. Bring the iterations down to 50. Zero stretch. What did that do? Tore off this point. What is that point? Ah, okay. It did fine. It just flipped it. Okay, so let's take a look at the mapping again. Okay, the mapping is much better now. The only issue is that I grabbed a extra couple of faces from the inside that I didn't notice, so that's no big deal. I'll go use this here. Now I'm going to flip it over, get it close to the direction that I want it to be. I have to manually align it. So what I'm doing is just looking for one of these most vertical edges and rotate that in until it's nice and straight. There we go. Alright, now this is pretty good. But the issue is that on the canopy I have straight lines, and here they're curved. So the artwork is going to change because of that. So what I like to do is I'll start right up here at the nose, and I'll grab this first. I'm on select all. Grab this first run, and you'll see what's selected here, and you can see that these are vertical when you turn them on their end. So I'm just going to hit align vertical, and it's going to start to mess up your mesh, but you're going to just work. I'll turn that off. There we go. Just work your way back. It's going to contort the mesh at first, and then it'll all get realigned as we go. Now let's check on here and see if how far down this straight line goes. Looks like I can grab one more vert. That would be this one down here. I'm going to skip this guy here, go to this one, and align. There we go. We're going to ignore the rest of this mess. Just keep going with the most vertical rows. Right on down the line. Let's check this. I know I want these, but do I want one to go with it? And yes, I want the corner one and this run here. Okay, and while I got it, I'm going to just move that forward just because that's the way it seems to need to be. A couple more rows to do. Okay. Now we got a lot of it right. We're just going to have a few areas that need to be tweaked. So we'll look at the nose here. Go in first. Looks like we can adjust something. Just bring this down in line, just till things look a little more smooth on the checkerboard. Guess I'm not good at speaking and working. Also, let's see what's going on here. Yeah, seems like this upper row might be a little compressed. So I'm going to take these, stretch them out just a little bit, but try to keep them in line with their vertical. It looks like it straightens out as it goes up. Next area would be these few verts here. So I'm going to zoom into those. And we'll grab all three of them. I always try to move things in groups if I can, and see what needs to be moved. You can see pretty easily what you're doing. Just trying to straighten these up. I'll try this one more time after this is done. We'll shrink it and we'll try it at a bigger resolution of checkers, and that'll let us know a few more things about it. There we go. This is standing it up more. And let's stand this up more. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then there's this corner area down here. So I'm going to move to those two areas, line them up. First off, looks like these two are pretty much in line. So I'm going to straighten that line up. You can see where this line, I'm trying to make it parallel to this back edge, in which it did real well. This needs to come in. This needs to come in. And that. Now this wants to be difficult. That must mean this is off. There we go. That was stretched way too far out. I see now. So like I'm saying, I'm just looking for parallel lines in the checkerboard. Just get things lined up. That's pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to take control of all this here and make it much smaller, at least half the size. And you'll see this area shows that we can do a little more work on it. I like to start with it real big and then come down smaller, tweak it as I go. I'll do this one more time after this just to make sure. Okay. That area looks pretty good now. See how the nose is looking. Now you're going to get some distortion for sure. It's kind of unavoidable, but this looks like it. This looks like it can be fixed up some. So this comes down here. You know what? Let's grab this all as a row. There we go. What I'm seeing is this is more of a square and this is more of a rectangle. These are rectangles. So as I move it away, they'll turn more into squares. And the same thing here. Now once you go to vert tweaking, it's anybody's guess how it's going to turn out, but well, let's see. One thing we didn't look at is the tail back here, but yeah, that looks pretty good already. Okay, so that done, I'm now just going to go manually picking out this entire inside. I guess I could pause and do it all, but what the heck. Just want to get this half. You can see this is lower resolution in here. I got way less going on. One thing I like to do is I like to add the thickness polys onto the inner mapping, since they're a little less important. That way I can fit them right on. Okay. So I still have the plane on the X, and I'm going to quick planar that. Now, I'm sure we all believe that this is a lot more acceptable for this to not be mapped quite perfectly, since it is the inside. But I'm going to go to 50 on iterations. Okay, I just tapped start and then hit it real quick again. And what that did too is it brought those edge polys out on their own too. That way you can actually paint on those polys with no issue. So I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to shrink that down to roughly the same size as this guy. So I'll touch these two outermost points until I'm touching these. Okay, that's roughly the same size. It's not going to matter. Okay, so now I'm going to close this out. Oh man, there's one more trick I could do. I think it works this way. Grab all of these here and then close it. Collapse. And when I turn on the poly, I'll still have that selection, which is handy because I want to hit Control I, and I'm going to delete this side. Okay, so now I know this canopy is on the 0, so I'm going to go here to the hierarchy tab, and I'm going to use the working pivot, and I'm going to just mirror a copy. Okay, so now we have two separate halves. I'm going to take the original half and attach. Okay, so now here's a cute little trick. Ooh, there's some separation here. Didn't expect that. Alright, I'm going to back that up. That means I need to straighten up my verts on this edge. So I'm going to grab this opening, Control click on vertex to turn it to vertex selection. I'm going to use the scale to make sure they're scaled completely flat. I'm going to use the move tool to make sure they're right on the very center. Because they were so close, I'm just going to move them all here, and you'll see it says 0 just by right clicking on this. I brought it to the 0. So let's backtrack, use working pivot, and do a copy. This time it looks a lot better. I'm going to hit attach this half. Alright, now for the trick. I'm going to use this border tool, and I'm going to select the borders. That's actually selected the border of both of these because none of the verts are welded on the seam. So once I do that, I can just click over by control clicking on vertex. Now all the verts involved are selected. Now I can hit weld. Let me pull this out where you might be able to see it better. That seems about right. You want to look in the really tight areas and see if anything got pulled in too tight. Yep, some things did get a little pulled in tight. So here's something you can do. I like to go to the unit setup and just go to generic for welding. Do weld again, and then I will do a 0.01 290. That seems a little more right to me. Okay, that committed the weld. Now this is all a single object. So now we can go back into our mapping. And where is everything? There it is. So I'm going to grab everything here, and I'm going to do all the sizing together before I move anything, and turn on my map. So we got one that's the interior, one that's the exterior. Shrink this down, fit in my original map. I don't know if it's going to fit very perfectly, but at this point I'll just grab these two. Oops. Alright, and I'll spin this down, because for some reason the first time I did this, that doesn't really matter. It's not about positioning anyways. I'm just trying to show how to map here. So alright, and so now we want to check to make sure we're grabbing the correct side. Windows 7 and that window clicking thing. Alright, so I know this is the good side, and I want to grab the other side. So I'm going to select both sides and deselect on one half. It still didn't work. That's alright. We'll do it this way. Mirror. Okay, and which one is this? That's this one here. And you can see I didn't didn't devote as much space for the interior. That's I should have sized them together, but I'm just trying to rush through this at this point. I got the main question answered, I think. So something like that, something like that. There we go. Okay. I hope that helped out. That's how I do it. Everything's mapped in just two halves. So yeah, after you get done with that, just want to collapse it down and you're ready to go. Hope it helps.